Hello, yes, that's right. It's Joe here live for Joyrider TV, back with some more scintillating Q&A. Hello to everybody who's already tuned in live. And as always, this live Q&A session will be tackling your most pressing catamaran sailing related questions and hopefully coming up with some pretty decent answers as well. Yeah, so anything to report just now? Not as far as I know. All that I do know is that the speed stick has been pretty quiet this week, to be honest. So if you are able to get out sailing and you think there's a decent bit of breeze on, then take some sort of GPS device, even if it's just your phone, running an app. There's so many free apps available to track your speed on a phone. Put it in a dry bag and send me the results. Get on the speed stick, and then eternal glory shall be yours. There we are. That is what we're talking about. So hello to everybody who's already with us. Hello to Paul from Wales. Yeah, Paul, who's already preloaded me with a question. So I think we'll just get straight on with Paul's question. Although, let's just say hello to everyone else first. Hello to Mark and Janet in Ohio. Another question there. We'll come on to that shortly. Hello, Lee. As always, greetings from Clearwater, Florida. Great to have you on board, Lee. We got channel member Ryan on board in Maui. Oh, yes, it's the weekend. Boom. Yes. I hope many of you have got the opportunity to get out on the water this weekend. Yeah, hopefully I might even dip a toe in myself. And that excites me greatly. Channel member Declan is on board from Stockholm, Sweden. They had snow yesterday. Report just in. We've got Jill on board in St. Petersburg, Florida. And Benny confirms. Hello, Jill, by the way. Benny, also in Sweden, confirms first day with snow. Oh, my word. I feel it is possibly a little bit early for that. But perhaps in Sweden, it is absolutely on time. Yeah. So as you may be aware, our season here in Greece has finished now for sailing. But there's still the occasional day with a bit of wind coming. And I've still got a few boats left prepared on the beach. So if there are favourable conditions, I still might be able to get out on the water and give it some small beans. We've got Celso. Tomorrow, RS 400 Open. Island Barn in Surrey. Nice. I hope that goes well. I dare say there should be a good turnout for that. I think the RS 400 class is still very lively in the UK. So good luck with that. All right. So Paul in Wales, he asked me a question about how much is too much independent hull movement. What I mean by hull movement is when you lift boat on the beach, you lift one of the hulls, the other one stays on the floor. How much is too much? I think this was in relation to either it was Benny's boat or no, sorry, not Benny, Paul's boat, or Paul's looking at buying the boat. I think it was Paul's boat where he's got quite a significant amount of independent hull movement, 40 centimeters, which is like that before the other hull starts to lift. Now, I would say that has got to be about on the limit. But what is important is where is that movement coming from? So I think Paul did explain that it wasn't coming from the sinister place, but let's just draw a picture anyway. So we are specifically talking Hobie 16, Hobie 14 here, with the pylons that go onto the castings kind of construction. Now, if the movement, so the way to check this out is to have a friend. One person lifts the bow of the boat, the other person does a bit of investigation to see where that movement is coming from. So there's two places where the movement could be coming from. One is the joint here. It's most likely to be the front beam. The back beam will have some, but it's the front beam which will make a big difference because that's where most of the loading is. And then there is the other place where it could be coming from would be here, where the pylon goes into the hull. Now, if the movement is coming from the red one, where the pylon goes onto the casting, then that is good news because we can do something about that. And it's just because what we've got there is basically metal on metal like that, which over time is going to wear, and the aluminium of the pylon is going to wear down a bit, and the cast aluminium of the casting is going to wear a bit as well, which means that cavity is going to get larger. So what we can do to reduce this amount of movement is get something into that cavity. I think the ideal stuff to use would be some sort of plastic. So if you've got an empty detergent bottle, or you could decant your detergent into another bottle, like quite thick plastic. Does depend on how much cavity you've got. But if you cut a good size strip out of some plastic, the plastic will depend on the amount of space in that cavity, and get it up in there. And if you can get it up all the way, so you even put holes through that plastic for the bolt to go through, if you can get that in there, you should really eliminate a lot of that movement. So when you lift the bow, then you should get rid of a lot of that movement. Second option would be to use anything else in that cavity that you can find. Third option, which I believe is quite popular in Australia, is to actually epoxy the pylons to the castings, totally removing any movement at all from that joint. But it does mean your boat will then be one piece forevermore because it's not going to come apart. So that is quite final as a concept there. But I've heard from the Australian people who do it, this has got a very good success rate, and it makes your boat absolutely solid. So if you really knew that you would never have to take your boat apart again, then that's a good option. And I dare say there would be ways that you could get it apart, but it'd be quite a painful job to do. So there we go. That is options in taking the movement out of the hull. Now, if the movement is coming from where this green circle is here, now this is much more sinister. Yes, we have spoken about this before, because what happens here is inside the hull, the pylon goes in like this, and then the pylon is like glued into a block, like a foam and fiberglass block inside the hull, which is then stuck to the hull. So if that's moving between the hull and the pylon, that means maybe there's something up there, there's something up here, but what it means is there is going to need some fairly significant intrusive surgery there to fix it. And if that doesn't get fixed, it's definitely going to get worse, which might make your boat completely unseaworthy. So there we go. So there you are, Paul. I hope that helps to some degree, but 40 centimeters, I would say, is right on the limit of what is an acceptable amount of independent hull movement. And if you can take a look at reducing that by getting some plastic up there, then I think you'll find with that much movement, you should be able to eliminate some of that reasonably easily. Good luck with that. All right. So I hope everyone's having a good day. I know it's quite early for everyone in America, and very early for anyone in New Zealand. All right. So on to next question from Mark and Janet in Ohio. Any tips on keeping critters such as mice or rats from damaging the stored catamaran over the winter? Yeah, we've had some issues with this in the past, and we only generally would have things eaten if you've left the trampoline with the boat and basically rolled the trampoline up and tied it to the front crossbeam rather than taking the trampoline off completely and put it somewhere where you know it's going to be completely safe. If the trampoline is still fitted to the boat and tight, then I found that generally doesn't have a problem, because maybe the rodent can't quite get his teeth in to a tight trampoline, whereas a loose trampoline, easy. But maybe, to be honest, we always take our Hobie 16s apart, and where you've got the gap down the middle of the trampoline lacing, perhaps even if it was tight, they'd be able to get stuck in there. So I would say the only thing for it is any soft furnishings on your boat, sails, ropes, trampoline, take off the boat and store somewhere where you know that rodents definitely can't get to. And it's a dry place as well, where it's not going to get damp. So that is unfortunately all that you can do to stop those little fellas having a free dinner on your expensive stuff. All right. So what else have we got going on in the live chat? We got Aaron on board, channel member Aaron in New Zealand, very early in the morning there. Great to have you with us, Aaron. I think that's Aaron in New Zealand. All right, Declan says, but the cat is still by the water. Okay, so it's snowing in Sweden, but the cat is still next to the water. If the wind blows the snow off the catamaran, he's going to take it out and see if he can notch it up on the speed stick. Yes, that's right. The speed stick getaway challenge still underway. So if you're lucky enough to be able to get out on a getaway, GPS device, absolutely send it. Yeah, and see if you can get 20 knots, then that pretty much puts you in the lead. All right, got Justin on board, still sailing season here in Laguna Vista, Texas. Great to have you with us, Justin. All right, Kelso says, check the block first. Is this relating to the independent hull movement? Could be. Yeah, thanks for that. All right, Jill says, I need to repair the dagger boards on my Infusion Mark 1. They have a decent bit of chips on the trailing edge. any recommendations. They are not carbon boards, thankfully. Yeah, it is very tricky repairing these the edges of dagger boards. I am not, disclaimer alert, I am not a professional boat builder, so the times when I've done repairs to the trailing edges of rudder blades and dagger boards, it's generally been okay, but I think it could be done a lot nicer. And I know that on the Good Old Design YouTube channel, they've done a really good tutorial on repairing the carbon trailing edges on the C2 dagger boards, which you could use that same technique, just replace the carbon for some fiberglass. But if it's just a small chip, and these are the only ones that I've done myself, is small chips. What I have done is, if this is the back edge of the dagger board, and we're trying to get this to a nice point, then what I've done is on one side, I've taped a piece of plastic, like a barrier basically, on one side, and then I've made some epoxy paste, just mixing up some epoxy as normal, and then after the epoxy's mixed, adding some micro bubbles, which is like a very fine, it's probably the finest powder ever, finer than any other powder. And what that powder does is it thickens up the epoxy and basically makes it into a paste. And then also added into the mix, I'll take some chopped fiberglass strands, which add a bit of substance to the mix. This is, of course, after preparing the back edge of the dagger board, so getting rid of anything that's loose, get in with some sandpaper. Anything that moves needs to come off, because if you're gluing, epoxying new stuff to stuff that moves, it's all just going to come off or move, which is not so good. So yeah, cleaning it up first, mixing up this paste with some chopped fiberglass in there, and then basically just making a new trailing edge with this mix, which is going to be a bit bigger to start with. So there'll be a bit of sanding to do afterwards. But for me, that's been working as a not particularly elegant repair. Whereas, as I said, check out the Good Old Design YouTube channel and check out their tutorial on there on repairing dagger board trailing edges. All right, so all right, Declan says, the classic Hobie machete on the whiteboard. Nice. Yes. All right, we got Hanny on board in Amsterdam. Great to have you with us, Hanny. Raining the whole day in Amsterdam. Yeah, it's been threatening rain here, but not actually raining, quite humid. All right, Cuxolly is on board. Nice to have you with us, as always. All right, who else is checking in? All right, Hanny says, did you get a lot of enthusiastic reactions on your newest video? It was really great. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, actually. And I even made a very exciting, what I'd call a mini edit, which I put on Instagram as well. And I don't know if it's because of a bit of seasonal drop-off, but it hasn't performed as well as I would have expected. It's only ranked number 4 in the last 10 videos that I've uploaded. And some of them I didn't think were as good. So I don't know why that is, perhaps my YouTube marketing machine hasn't been working quite as well. And the one I put on Instagram I thought was very good, but that hasn't seen much action either. But it's going to be there forevermore. So so there we go. Hopefully more people will have a look at that. All right, Jeroen. Hello, Jeroen. Which instructor course do you recommend? Is a license necessary to give courses? Yeah, if you are going to sail, if you're going to instruct at a recognized teaching establishment, then it will be required for you to have a teaching qualification before they'll even give you a job. Whereas, unless you're just going to do it as a kind of work experience type thing. If you're just going to be taking people out on your own boat and teaching them how to sail on your own boat, then you don't need to have a qualification. But it is nice to do an instructor training course, whether you need to or not, because what an instructor training course is going to teach you, which might not have occurred to many experienced sailors, is what is the best process to teach somebody who's a complete beginner how to sail a boat, whether it's a catamaran or a monohull. So yes, it is a good idea to have a license, but unless you're going to be teaching at a recognized teaching establishment, it's not completely necessary. The two teaching licenses that I have, which I think are both very good, are the most recognized in the world is the RYA, which is the British teaching establishment, the Royal Yachting Association, and Wildwind Sailing Holidays, which is where I've been doing all my teaching, is an RYA recognized training establishment. But I'm also an instructor of the VDWS as well, which is the German and Italian, the very much European qualification, the European governing body for issuing licenses and certificates of ability. So yes, there will be a new governing body coming soon, which will be called Joyrider Sailing Club, which you'd be able to get a qualification from the Joyrider, what would you call it, syllabus, which I think is going to be much better than everything that has gone before. That's big chat right there. But having taught sailing for such a long time and seen different syllabuses and what works, what isn't so good with each of them, I'm going to make one myself, you know, see how it goes. Maybe it'll be very successful. Maybe only 4 people get qualified because it's just too hard, or something, or maybe it's too easy. Who knows? But yes, so if you were going to do an instructor training course, I would recommend doing one with Water Sports Nomad, based out here in Vasiliki, Greece. You can do a 4-week course, a 6-week course, or a 12-week course, because also on these courses is included your powerboat driving license, which you do need at any water sports training establishment. You need to be able to drive a powerboat, and you get a first aid qualification with that as well, because whether you're qualified or not, it is just common sense that if you're going to be going sailing with a lot of people often, you should know what to do if somebody hurts themselves, because it can happen. We see it happen, like little small injuries quite frequently, but there's always the chance that something could happen. And if you've done a course, which is usually a 1-day course, that qualification lasts 3 years, but then you've got that bit more confidence that, okay, what happens if something happens, and you're going to have a better idea. It could really make a big difference. So there you go, Jeroen. Thanks for the question. I hope that was helpful. All right, we've got Erzerum. Don't know quite. Or Erzerum. Sorry about difficult to pronounce. Haven't come across this name before. All right. Who says, have you ever sailed a mini cat? No. Question number 2. Do you have any opinions on it? Maybe. And how it compares to other solid hulled catamarans. Yeah. Well, now here you go. This is news just in. Can I give this news out just yet? Yes. All right. So I've been in touch with the guys at Minicat, and yes, I am getting my hands on a Minicat, which I'm going to have down here for the duration of the winter months, where there'll still be some good conditions, and I am going to be absolutely taking a deep dive into what is the Minicat like, the complete picture from how you assemble it. Does it actually fit in the boot of your car? Although that is what I believe. And then how you assemble it. How easy is it to assemble? How long does it take to assemble? Like, is it actually practical to turn up at a lake or something and you've got an hour to go sailing? Is it practical to put it together? That kind of thing. And then, of course, I'm going to be taking a fairly good look at the actual sailing of the boat in different conditions, sailing with different people, because I think with this type of boat, it is going to be a very popular boat for kind of, got it on the beach, do you want to come for a sail? Yeah, brilliant. All right, let's go. And lovely times. So the reason the question, Erzerum says how it compares to solid hulled catamarans is because the Minicat is an inflatable. Yes. So I am guessing that because it's an inflatable, it's not going to have as good performance as solid hulled catamarans, because a stiff hull is going to just have much less resistance through the water than a hull that isn't stiff. But what I know is that inflatable technology these days is absolutely incredible. If you look at modern stand-up paddle boards and wing foiling boards, the original inflatable stand-up paddle boards, you'd stand in the middle and the ends of the boards would come up out of the water because it was so floppy. But these days, you get on the board and it is as solid as a fiberglass board. So those are the answers to your questions. But keep an eye on Joyrider TV, because hopefully I'll be getting that boat by, when would that be? By kind of mid-November. And then there'll still be a good 6 weeks before it gets a little bit cold for me. You know, I am a fair weather sailor, and I have to put it away for a bit before the weather cheers up a bit in the spring. So there we go. All right. So Declan says, how common is it to get chips on the trailing edges of blades and rudders? Yeah, it is a real shame, but it is so easy to chip the trailing edges of your rudder blades. Here comes another machete on the board. So when you've got your rudder blade up, this is largely where the problem comes. That's the rudder blade, by the way. There's the rudder stock on the back of the boat there. The easiest way to damage the trailing edge of your rudder blade is the tiller extension gets thrown off the back and bosh, lands on the trailing edge. And even a fairly lightweight tiller extension, if thrown in that direction from a height, it's going to chip the trailing edge of the rudder blade. If you're sailing with less sophisticated rudder blades, like if you've got the Lexan rudder blades on your boat, then they are not going to chip. You're more likely to damage your tiller extension. But if you have if you've got fiberglass rudder blades like White Knight rudder blades, or even the EPOs, and you do this, yes, they are going to chip. So that is how that happens. On dagger boards, if you hit the bottom or you hit a rock, then that is going to push the dagger board backwards, which is going to force this part of the dagger board into the casing at the back, which could very easily put damage on the trailing edge of the dagger board. That is how dagger board trailing edge damage would or might occur. There you go. All right. So, Declan, we need some frosty videos of you in the ice water. Oh, yes. I have a few chips on the bottom edge and the leading edge. I hit some submerged rocks. So your question is brilliant. So I was actually going to ask. All right, there we are. All right. Just cruising through the live chat. So we got Jens on board in Germany. Hi, Jens. Nice to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. Jens is a channel member, as you can tell by these really delightful custom Hobie Cat emoji. Very nice indeed. All right. Declan says +1 for the Joyrider Sailing Club qualification. Oh, yeah. All right. We've got Sunset Wingman on board, who I believe is in Texas. Is that correct? I'm pretty sure it is. Can you give a current rundown on which cameras you are using, and do you use a separate microphone? Yes, Florida. Okay, Sunset Wingman in Florida. All right, nice to have you with us. Yeah, so my main camera these days I'm using more than anything else is the GoPro Max, which, sorry, I don't have it to hand. But the GoPro Max is a 360 camera, which I find very practical, although it does distort the image a little bit and gives it that kind of fish-eyed look. But the reason that I'm using the GoPro Max, and thanks again to Trey, if he's watching, for actually giving me that camera. That was probably one of the best gifts I've ever received. I've had so much use out of that bad boy. But the reason it's good is number one, is you don't have to worry about where it's pointing. So it would kind of be like, I put it maybe underneath the boom, and then after I finished sailing, I could go through the footage and decide which view I want at any time. Or if something cool happened on the other side of the boat, like a dolphin jumped out of the water or something, then I could actually take a look at that and put that in the edit with the 360 camera. The other cool thing that the GoPro Max does, or other 360 cameras like the Insta360, is if you've got it on a pole, like I would usually put it either, this is a topic that I'm quite into, the camera mounting topic. So if this is the boat here, we've got bowsprit, we've got the boom. The places where I'd use the 360 generally would be on the underside of the boom. This gives really nice pictures of the team in action on the boat. I'd put an extension on the end of the spinnaker pole. And if you've got it on the end of a pole, it very cleverly takes the pole out of the picture, which is very cool. It looks like you've got an amazing drone pilot who's with you all the time. Or off the back of the boom, same thing, takes the pole out of the picture so it looks like you're being chased. But the reason I use the GoPro Max on land a lot as well is because it's the only camera that I've got which has got a screen that faces you, so I can actually see what it is that I am filming. The other angle that I've been using with the 360 cam is I put a pole out the side of the boat with the camera on it. I basically take an old windsurfing mast, strap it to the bottom of the dolphin striker in the middle, then I strap it round there. That gives it a bit of upwards angle, which keeps it a bit more out of the water. And I think you'll agree that the shots from that one are very cool indeed. But also in the same positions, the other GoPro that I use is a GoPro, what do you call it? Hero 8 Black. The 8 is the last one that I bought new, and I think it's absolutely fine. I don't feel the need to upgrade to the 11 at the moment. The stabilization on the 8 is very good. I do feel, also answering your question, that the sound of the 8 isn't as good as the sound was with the 7. It definitely gets more wind noise. So I am using a microphone now, which is called an Instamic. It is about the size of this eraser, and I put it underneath my Lycra so that the Lycra gets rid of the wind noise. This picks up everything very nicely. And the main complaint I've had from that microphone is that you don't get enough wind and boat noise, so you just don't get quite as much atmosphere. So I generally mix in some of the audio from one of the other cameras just to give it that little bit more atmosphere. But like when I did the Hobie Tiger video last week, I also used a GoPro Session, which is the very small one, which I just put at the back of the boom. So it was another angle. But if I do feel that if you have got the option to have 2 cameras on the boat, it's definitely worthwhile, and definitely have one looking backwards down the boat, because the thing that's ruined more footage for me than anything is when the lens gets all salty and the salt dries on the lens, then it's ruined. Whereas if your camera's facing backwards, it's not going to get splashed as much, which means the footage is going to be better. When it's absolutely nuking, really windy, it doesn't matter because you get so much spray, but your lens continually is getting cleaned. But in light winds, this is when it's worst. If you accidentally get a little splash, yeah, tough times. All right. So there you go. All right. So Ryan in Maui says, should I try and repair an old Nacra 5.2 seriously damaged in the fires? Serious hull damage. I'm in for a challenge, but my wife doesn't want more boats in the front yard. Yeah, I would perhaps be on the side of the wife there that is repairing another boat, going to lead to you getting more time on the water. What actually, sorry to ask, but I think, what have you got at the moment, Ryan? You've got the 500, a Hobie 14, and I think there's a Getaway as well. So I think the 5.2 would probably fit a similar bracket as the 500. So unless you're starting to set up some sort of club where people are coming down sailing your boats, I would say leave it alone. And also, if it's good for the marriage, it's probably a good idea. All right, we've got Russell on board. Hello, Russell. Nice to have you with us, as always. Channel member. Do you follow any other sports or races? The America's Cup football, Formula One, etc. Yeah, to be honest, not so much. I'd have to say that I am a terrible part-timer in following other sports. Yes, I follow the America's Cup when it's happening. I kind of dip in and out of the Sail GP, but I just find that it's quite, that's a whole half a day almost to watch the action from the Sail GP. But what I have started watching is, due to Netflix, of course, I've taken more of an interest in different sports, but watching them a year after they happened, because there's some very cool series on Netflix. Of course, the Formula One series on Netflix is absolutely fantastic, and it really gets you behind the different teams. And I would highly recommend it, even if you have no interest, because following that, I watched the tennis on Netflix as well. Brilliant. I don't watch football, but I watched the David Beckham documentary series. Brilliant. All these documentary series, brilliant. But what I do watch every year, and it's just been, is the Red Bull Rampage, which is the downhill, the most extreme downhill mountain biking event in the world. You can see that, I think, on the Red Bull channel. It is absolutely brilliant. There we go. I think that is what I'm into. But other than that, I don't generally find time for other sports so much. So there we go. All right. Ryan says, do you recommend rudder covers if you move the rudders around? I chipped the knack of 500 rudders. My Getaway has nice covers. Yeah, I would definitely say if you've got a local sailmaker who can make you some, very simple rudder covers, it is definitely a good idea. Just to take any cloth that they have, make them a little bit bigger than the rudders, and then stick them on. If you leave the rudders on your boat, it's really nice to have them out of the UV, out of the elements when you're not using it. And then if you are moving the rudders, like in your car or in your trailer, nice to have a bit of protection. If you're going to be putting them in the trailer and going somewhere, then perhaps it is worth investing in some sort of padded rudder covers. But back in the day when I started sailing on the Dart 18s, a lot of the sailors would just take an old pair of trousers, usually jeans, cut the legs off the trousers, and they would fit pretty nicely as a rudder cover, and they would offer enough protection to stop you from chipping the edges of your rudders. Better still would be if you've got an old wetsuit, chop the legs off your wetsuit, and that would work really well, I think. All right, so continuing in the live chat. Declan says it would be great if you would do an action camera to edit masterclass as a video series. Very interesting for many of us. Yeah, that would be very cool, actually. And everybody has an assignment, perhaps. Yeah, that would be very nice. Good idea. Like it. All right, we've got Steve on board in cold Michigan, USA. Yeah, it must be chilly there. All right. Sun God Sunglasses winner Duke is on board. Have you received your prize yet, Duke? I'm interested to know. All my videos are shot and edited on an iPhone 14. Nice. It's waterproof. Yeah, I think on a modern iPhone, you get some amazing footage. And if you can find a good mounting solution for your phone on the boat, that would be very cool. Of course, what I didn't mention is the helmet cam. I always use a helmet cam because I think it gives the best kind of point of view. This is what I'm seeing picture. And I generally use the GoPro 8 on the helmet because the stabilization is good. And rather than using the 360 camera, that is generally better served somewhere else. Whereas I'm quite mindful of where I point my head since I've started making these videos. So the 8 on the helmet, and I have it just tilting down very slightly. And since I've started using the 360 camera, I've started setting the helmet camera to super view, because if you have it on super view, there is less chance that you're going to miss something. The worst thing is if you've not quite got the angle right. You know, it might have looked right when you're on land, but when you get on the water, all you've got is video footage of your sails and you can't see anything else. Put it on super view and you're more likely to capture more of it. And if you then go super view and 4K, you can then zoom in a little bit afterwards in the edit, which is nice. Yeah, but perhaps like Declan says, I'll put a series together of how to make a Joyrider TV style video. That would be cool. Maybe I'll learn how to do that myself at the same time. All right, here we go. Declan is in there. Find some old, with the rudder covers, cut the, legs off the wetsuit. Okay, so I am just going to see what else we have got in the preloaded. Yeah, all right. I've actually got a question in the preloaded section from quite some time ago, and I'd have to say apologies to Northern Beaches Brass, who's been waiting for a response to this for some time. But what is going on here is he and his brother have acquired a Hobie Tiger and they've been overhauling it, but they've discovered that the tiller bar adjustment is jammed, where we should be able to rotate it to adjust the toe in, the angle of the rudders. It's completely seized. Yes, so what we've got going on here, this is quite common because generally with your rudder alignment adjustment, once you've set it up once, you shouldn't need to adjust it again, because the only reason that you'd need to change it again would be perhaps after 5 years, maybe your boat has loosened a little bit. But generally, if you've set your rudder alignment up once, should be fine. But the other reason you might have to change it is if this is the tiller connecting bar, by the way. There's the joint for the extension. If this has become bent, then it will have effectively made it a bit shorter. Or if the tiller arms, so we're going 3D here, by the way, get ready for this. Yeah, not very good. But if that's the tiller arm, if the tiller arm has become bent, then in fact, that's really pretty poor. Then that is going to pull it in a little bit more as well. So on any of the Hobies with this screw thread adjustment, what you have is on the right hand side, the starboard side, you just have a fixed end cap with a hole in it, and that is where we're getting all the colors out today. That is where the pin goes through like that, which then attaches to your tiller arm. That is a much better picture. Now, on the port side, this is where you have the adjustment, which on a Tiger or a more modern 16, anything like that, you've got a screw thread adjustment. And again, that's got a hole in it where the tiller arm then attaches thus. All right, so that is what we're dealing with here. Now, for these screw threads to seize up is quite common because, as I said, it's fairly unlikely you're going to be adjusting it particularly frequently. So the first thing that I would do is just really go with a bit of brute force. Yes. So what I would do first is I would put the whole connecting bar, I would put it in a vise, use a little bit of padding, let's be kind, and wind up the vise pretty tight. And I would use the universal joint for the tiller extension to stop it from slipping round in the vise. And I would then put a screwdriver, as long a screwdriver as you can handle, through here. And then with both hands, really just try to move it backwards and forwards to just to see if you can get any movement in there. Like that. If you can't get any movement, I find that eventually it gives up and it says, all right, I'm going to go, you've got me. Yeah, so really give it some beans with something to get you loads of leverage through there. And if that absolutely doesn't move, then it's no good with this to heat it up, because the insert it goes into, this part is metal, but then it goes into a plastic screw. So if you heat it up, you are likely to melt the plastic screw. No good. So if it absolutely doesn't move, what else can you do? You could put some, soak the whole thing in WD-40 or something. But what I find is it gets so stuck. It's like there's been some sort of chemical reaction which has actually got the metal to make a permanent bond with the plastic. So WD-40 is not going to have too much of a decent effect. So what could you do next? Basically, you could buy a new fitting. Yeah. So you'd need to, if you're in the States, Murray's has always got all of the spare parts that you need. So there's two parts that you need. You need, it would be like this screw thread bit, and then this other piece which is the piece, the insert that goes in here, and that's got a thread on the inside. The way that this is held in to here is it's just got a very small screw top and bottom, so well worth ordering some new screws as well, but those are the options, unfortunately. Now just to really go mad on this, is what should the alignment be on a boat like a Hobie Tiger? Let's just have a little look at that. So there is the boat. We can do it with the rudder up on the beach like this. All right, so what we want to do, basically on any boat that has straight hulls, which is 17 feet or bigger, so getting on for 5.5 meters, it's a similar alignment for all of them because of how it is. Okay, it's the best way that I could put it. Is handy if you've got a second person to do this as well, but you have one rudder completely straight, so you're lining that up with the bow of the boat, so you can just stand behind the boat and you're looking down there and it's completely straight. Then the other one, so we've got our mate here, we've got our bow fitting here that goes to the bridle wires. We want just to have a very small toe in, so we're just lining that up like that would be quite obviously, I'm pretty sure that you'd want to have the boat really tight before you start looking at your rudder alignment. When I say tight, the beam bolts tight, the trampoline tight, mast up, rig tension on, all of that, because it's all going to slightly influence the alignment of the boat. So so there we go. Hope that helps. But find a bit of brute strength with the screwdriver. Usually they give up. All right, we've got Office Hands Dave on board. Great to have you with us, Dave. It's all happening here, not really happening so much in Vasiliki Bay. Hope you enjoyed the Hobie Tiger video. It was Dave who delivered me the fantastic looking Whirlwind Sails spinnaker. I've since been having a bit of a chat with Chip at Whirlwind Sails, and he's going to this is going to be really interesting, but he's going to supply me with a set of Hobie 16 sails for next year. And I think what I might even do is put it out to the Joyrider TV global community to decide on what colors they should be. Because it is a massive choice when you've got the choice of the whole color palette to choose from for your sails. Gosh, just imagine if you got it wrong. That would be awful. So I think if I put it to the whole community and then I say, Chip, these are the colors that we're after, because I really do believe that these sales, these Whirlwind sales, Hobie 16 replica sales are probably the best ones that you can get. I haven't tried them. I haven't tried any of the other ones, but because Chip was the head sale maker at Hobie Cat USA, I think that gives him a little head start on everyone else. All right. So Ryan in Maui, who's looking at getting another boat, says, I'm always collecting boats while we're Maui. Nice. All right. Sunset Wingman says, did you see the photos of the Nacra got its hulls cut in half behind the front beam by a tornado? No, I didn't see that. I dare say that would have been on Facebook somewhere. All right. Well, I will check that out. All right. Paul, who was asking about the flexible Hobie 16, says it's the front beam into the casting with the play. I was going to try and pack it with a cut up Coke can. Other drinks are available. Yeah, nice choice. Take a look at that. All right. Mark says, very good video and sound quality today. Excellent. Yeah. The Joyrider TV studio is currently undergoing some renovations, and I'm sure nobody wanted to ask, but what is that behind you? It's my favorite design I've ever done, because I am very much a Star Wars fan. And yes, if you want to get that on a t-shirt, then let me know and I can organize it, because I think that is very good. In fact, having said that, it is coming up to that sort of time when you might be looking for gift ideas. Now, if you are going to be going to totaljoyrider.com to do your Christmas shopping, I know it's a bit early to talk about that. It's not even Halloween, but get in there early if you want custom designs. So let's say this is a fairly straightforward design with the picture of the boat, says Joyrider, giving it the beans. You can change absolutely anything you want. Just this week, I did some custom Spitfire designs. Very nice. And I can do the colors of the sails, sail number, color of the spinnaker, the hulls. If you want the boat name instead of giving it the beans, anything at all. If you don't want it to say Joyrider on there, you want it to say, I don't know, I like badgers, something like that. We can do anything at all. Just let me know what your specification is. And usually at the moment, the kind of lead time for a custom design, because I haven't got so much day-to-day work on, is I'd say about from when you approve the design, usually about 2.5 weeks, and it will be with you. That's pretty good. All right, there we go. So Declan says, oh, for this seized up rudder adjuster, try hot water and vinegar. Yeah, Dave agrees. I like the vinegar idea as well. Boiling water could be your friend. All right. I can see a Joyrider Sailing Club branded Whirlwind spinnaker in my future. Nice. Yes. Okay. I think Chip has the files with the pictures. All right. Dave says, got to use a Greek flag colors, like a big Greek flag. Yeah, I like that very much. All right. So I think we have reached the finish line of this Q&A. Thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. It's been a very good one, I feel. And yeah, if you could hit the like button before you leave, that would be very, very good, because that means that more people will get to see this video, which if more people see it, it makes me feel it's more worthwhile, because I'm helping more people with their catamaran sailing problems that they didn't even know that they had. Okay, so get in touch if you want a t-shirt or a hoodie. It's getting into hoodie season. And I'll see you soon with some more. Nothing in the pipeline for this weekend, I'm afraid. But you never know what might happen. Oh, hi, Rob. Nice to have you with us. All right. Hanny says, thanks very much. Declan, have a great weekend. Ryan says, love the lightweight sweatshirts that you make. Really soft. Beautiful. It's my absolute favorite. Get one with your boat on it this year. All right. Oh, Mr. Tony KP is on board, who did forget to check in, but always good to know that you're there, Mr. Tony KP. All right. Have a nice weekend, and I will see you soon on Joyrider TV.